Wonder Woman 1984 has finally come out after endless delays. This and Tenet have been the only blockbusters of the year, and whilst I still love Tenet, this is a very different type of blockbuster that I didn't realise how much I missed until I saw this film. And this is a brilliant return to the blockbuster space that is all at once thrilling, intense, emotional, and joyous. It is easily an improvement on the first one for me, which I do really like, but find quite generic in terms of its plotline. And let me just start by saying that what a surprise this film is. It is so different, not just to the first, but to what you'll be expecting this film to be. I was so surprised by the tonal change, but I absolutely adored the new direction that the film took, and you will be completely taken off guard by what the film is really like, as the trailer suggested something very different to what the film actually is. And I'm going to get my problems with the film out of the way, because just to be clear, the film does have problems. Mainly, the plot has a lot going on. It's why the film is fairly long at 2 hours and a half, and it doesn't have much time to rest. So there are moments where new powers or small expository scenes just kind of come out of nowhere, so it does feel a bit muddled and a bit messy at times. And there also is a character who gets completely forgotten about as the film goes on. And I'm not going to ruin who this character is, but it is a real shame because there's great things that they could have done with the character, which they did, but only in the scenes in which the character is present, and then after that they kind of forget about the character. There was genuinely a moment where this character appeared and I suddenly went, oh, I forgot this character was in the film. It feels like it's been ages since I actually saw them. And lastly, the first hour of the film, whilst not bad at all, is nowhere near as high energy as the rest of the film. And it does feel like it could have been cut down a good 5 or 10 minutes, even though Patty Jenkins did state that she wanted this film to be 15 minutes longer than it already is. But everything else after the first hour, oh my goodness. Once this thing gets going, it does not stop, and it is an absolute roller coaster of a thrill ride. When I call a film propulsive, this is the definition of what I mean by propulsive, because this film just gets more and more and more intense every minute it goes on. And trust me, this thing rockets along at the speed of light. This is the most gleefully thrilling, edge of your seat ride I've seen in a very long time, and the type of thrill ride I very rarely see anyway, but has sorely missed in more modern films. And the action, while sparse at first, is brilliant, and it's always full of energy and movement, and there's always an intensity behind every scene of the later hour and a half that means you never get to rest, and you're always constantly on the edge of your seat. And the film is all shot in a beautiful 35mm film, and it does have a very intense and noticeable grain to it, but it's a beautiful grain that makes the colours so vibrant and full of life, and every shot is bursting with neon or a colour of some sort, and it gives the film just a real sense of life and energy that Patty Jenkins really has to be congratulated for. It's clear that she has a brilliant directorial eye for these kind of shots. And Patty Jenkins also has to be praised for her script, because the film is more than just intense, it's emotionally intense, with 2 scenes that nearly made me cry, which I was completely not expecting for this type of film. There is genuinely properly written characters whose journeys are very powerful and surprisingly emotional. And this really strong emotional core is really helped by the performances, which are excellent all around. Chris Pine and Pedro Pascal are standouts, but it's Gal Gadot who really improves here as an actress, and there's one scene in particular that truly is a showcase of just how much she's grown to become more able to deal with heavier, more emotional scenes, and it was really nice to see how she has grown as an actress, not just as a brilliant action star and a brilliant superhero physique, but also as an actual character actor. Hans Zimmer's score, whilst not necessarily being a very listenable 2-1, is rousing, epic, loud and bombastic and practically never stops for the last hour and a half of this film. It works phenomenally well in context and is just as pulse-pounding as the film itself. And because of how loud and big a spectacle the film is, if it's safe, it absolutely needs the big screen and would be phenomenal in IMAX. I didn't manage to see the film in IMAX, although I desperately want to now because it's the sort of film that absolutely benefits from it, especially because of the cinematography and the score. the intensity of the film really wouldn't be the same at home, and you really do need that big screen cinematic experience to get that volume, that loudness, that scale and scope of it all. And so if you can, I implore you to go and see it in a cinema, and at the loudest, biggest screen you can find. Along with the spectacle though, the film has an incredibly powerful message of hope and humanity, which we all desperately need right now. I was completely not expecting this aspect of the film, and because of the way this message is done, Diana really has become one of my favourite superheroes in modern Hollywood films right now, as she is just a beacon of hope and light to everyone. And as you can probably tell, I am incredibly surprised at just how good this film is. And whilst it does have obvious flaws, it's the type of purely escapist blockbuster that we have all sorely missed, with a message that has lifted me up constantly in the hours since I saw it. To my great delight, I'm going to give Wonder Woman 1984 a 9 out of 10. This has to be one of the DCEU's best entries, and it's lovely to see a $200 million superhero film that is so unattached to anything else. It really has this sense of it being a standalone adventure, and it benefits all the more for it, much like Joker did in being its own thing. Overall, though, you got the point. I loved this thing way more than I was expecting, and I'm telling you, everyone else will too, as it's a film the world desperately needs right now. That was my review of Wonder Woman 1984, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.